Oh, we got feral dogs, feral monkeys, feral rooster, and feral hogs.
What?
And everybody's getting along.
Ooh.
Crazy. Monkeys, rooster, hogs, and dogs. And everybody's just one big happy family.
Are they alive?
Yep. Okay, this wasn't expected. Look at the monkeys all over the stairs up there. Oh, keep up a bit. All right, here we go. Here we go again, coming to you live from the other side of the planet. We almost got to watch a family rumble yesterday. where our room is right now, where we currently are, you go out, so we're on ground level, and you look out the sliding glass door, and there's a pool right up there. And then about, I don't know, 60 feet across, 50, is the other side, which is where the sun's hitting. There's a bunch of chairs there, and then the next chunk of this place you're staying at, the next wing of rooms, is directly across from us. So you get it? So the pool is a rectangle with a rectangle of rooms on either side of it, and grass on the far side. So anyway, we're in here yesterday, and all of a sudden, all screaming and all hell's breaking loose. We're like, huh? What's going on? I look over, and I guess some psycho woman, I think she's probably in her 60s, her and her husband, walked over to these people's chairs, beach chairs, pool chairs, I don't know, and she literally grabbed their stuff off of their chairs and threw them down in the water. These chairs, they have a shallow end of the water, and the pool is like 6 inches deep, and they got the chairs on top of the water. She's just threw their shit in the water. So this family started going ape shit, circling around them. This teenage girl I thought was getting ready to pop this woman one. And when Sarah saw most of it, I didn't see much. And she said that when the mom and the kids and the dad come over, started ripping this woman a new one, she threw her stuff in the pool and said, wait till my husband gets here and sees what you did with my stuff. What? You can't make this shit up. What's going on, people? Right? Anyways, that was some good comic entertainment for me. Both of us, as we're sitting here looking out the window, and the Thai staff are coming over, and in Thailand Buddhism, it's shameful to blow a gasket. So, and they're all screaming at each other. It's just so cringe. I felt more bad for the Thai people here than I did the people involved in the conflict. But whatever. There you go. That's all my goop and news from up here. Pretty lame, right? What else? I was watching some independent reporters. Came across, as well at the same time, came across a Video evidence of somebody being caught lighting fires in California. Red-handed. Holy shit. How do you even let that person live? Right? Be interesting to hear what the deal is with that individual, or if they will even share the honest truth. Who knows? I don't know. It's pretty unfortunate, though, right? Pretty unfortunate. Anyway, let's get into hearing from some people, all right? Every day we hear from the people, life gets better as far as I'm concerned. As long as we focus on the people. This is titled, A Sighting - Encounter East Coast America. All right? Hello, and thank you for taking the time to read this. I had an insane situation unfold just feet away from me one early morning here on the East Coast of the United States. I've been a Reverend for nearly 25 years and have always made it a habit to walk, to exercise and meditate as much as my weekly schedule allowed me to. I was asked to help out a struggling church for a season which required my family to move to a new area. This town was nestled close to 3 adjoining East Coast states. I found a local park with plenty of acreage to walk, and it seemed very peaceful. I've been using the park for about 10 months when the encounter took place. I had heard some unusual noises through the 10 months, but attributed them to being in a new area with new sounds, etc. There was a path in the back of the park that was sort of shaped like a very large horseshoe, and in the middle of the path grew tall, wild grass. The grass area was usually filled with bird activity, which I liked. One early morning, I entered that path, like I normally do, and it was literally dead quiet, and there were no bird sounds at all. It hit me immediately how odd that was. I took maybe 25 to 30 steps into the path when I heard rustling to my left in the tall grass. I thought that maybe I had disturbed some sleeping deer, but then I heard what sounded like a horse blowing through its mouth to my right. And as I looked to my right, I saw what looked like a large, heavy man covered in hair, just standing there, sort of facing slightly away from me. It just stood there, and I was struggling to understand what I was looking at. Then, the noise to my left exploded through the grass away from me. I thought I could see the grass moving, and I never saw what was there. My head started ringing, which was really weird, and I guess it was adrenaline. And then I looked quickly back to my right, and this thing standing there quickly shot down to the ground to its left and crawled away at a speed that seemed completely impossible. I'm not sure how to explain how it crawled away, but the only thing I can equate it with is an insect. It looked like a large, hairy insect crawling at high speed. And once it was moving away, I turned and ran like a scared little boy. I had no idea what to think or say afterwards. I've tried to sort it out and have prayed a lot. I guess my question at this stage is, why don't we know about these things? I had a parishioner years ago come into my office and talk and eventually get his sighting off his chest. I really believed he believed what he saw, but had no information or any way to relate with him. Sadly, I do now. I know all this sounds so far out, and after all this time, I'm still attempting to sort it out. But this really happened, and I'm suspicious about what these things are and its purpose here on Earth. I now take my early morning walks on the paved roads and sidewalks in my neighborhood. I'm not sure I'll ever be comfortable enough again to be in or around wooded areas. I'm not a wimp, but from what I experienced that morning, it's not something I'd like to see or feel again in this lifetime. Thanks again for your time and your ear, Pastor Scott. And a plane flies overhead. What are the frickin' chances, right? And there you go. You know what? It didn't take too long through this email, and I remember reading it before, and that's not a bad one to read again at all. What's going on, you guys, with the how do we even put this into words? We have had so many people say the atmosphere changed, almost like an electric static, right? Can't hear anything. And then, boom, you're in the presence of one of these beings. And most of the time, they run away absolutely terrified. So, who's crossing over to where first? Them or us? obviously something's going down, right? Not every time. Obviously not every time. I mean, we have other incidents of not having the atmosphere change. When, say, somebody's on the mountain using binoculars looking across the other way, there's this thing walking across a rock slide. All right, we don't have that. We have numerous reporting, something like, or driving down the road, right? You're driving down the road, nothing changes. You're just driving down the road, boom, it crosses a highway. There's no atmospheric change. Are all these beings the same? I don't know. I got a feeling not. But what's up with that atmospheric change, you guys? Think about it. There's a big one in there, a big question mark in this experience, which is similar in many other ones. What's up with the change in the air, the atmosphere? What's going down? Where did we just slip into? How do we slip into there? Or where did they just slip into us from? And how? And how can that be detected by us intentionally? Right? Big questions, crazy answers. And there you go. Now, while I was surfing my older inbox earlier, after we went and beat ourselves up in the gym here, and I had an email I had forwarded to a very good friend of mine who lives on Gambier Island. Now, Gambier Island is where that bare footprint in the snow thumbnail I've used on many of my videos, and he's the friend of mine who took that picture. And I thought, I saw this email in my inbox. I'm like, what the hell is he doing? Why are we talking in the share my story email, you know? So I started reading it, and I guess what I'd done was I had forwarded him an email that I thought would be important to him from somebody that lives near him. But what did he say to me? He said, effing weird shit, Steve. And I know his name's Steve as well. But anyways, he says to me, effing weird shit, Steve. And all I know is the tracks I saw. Oh, sorry. And I know about the tracks I saw. I'll send them to you again. I've never seen one, though, but this thing could be extraterrestrial for sure. Interesting stuff. My mind is always open. Anyway, so I scrolled down. I started reading this email volley, and here's an idea of how far back this was. I guess I replied to this man, Scott, and I said, hi, Scott. I won't read the whole email, but listen to the beginning. I sure have been receiving some attention lately. I have around 650 emails from all over the planet, and YouTube's going to flip 75,000 subs today and climbing. It's crazy. And Cuz Strickland emailed me, asked me to come down to his camp this spring. He has an interest in all this, too. And we have also mutual friends through hunting. Yeah, crazy. That's how far back this email is. Now listen to this email from him, all right? This is near my home. Hey, Steve, my name is Ricardo, and I have had my own up-close sighting and other experiences with these beings. And I agree with you, they are not an unevolved primate like a chimp or gorilla. They're more like us, but bigger, stronger, and possibly smarter. I have heard them speak. They have a guttural language. Almost sounds like Japanese. I won't bore you with the lead up to my sighting. It's a long one. So to make the long story short, I was there because I was supposed to have attended a BFRO expedition. I had to miss my paid expedition because of work. So I went a couple of weeks later with a local friend. And it was October 28th to 29th, 2006. And I was on my employer's dime because they felt bad that I'd missed the, quote, expedition, end quote. And this was near Roberts Creek, just south of Seashelt, on the access road to the power line right away. We had been here the night before, camped at a clearing next to the road. We heard a lot of wood knocks and movement around us as we sat by the fire that Friday night, but nothing else happened. Okay, so you guys know that's directly across from Gambier Island, and it's also directly across from that island that we mentioned a little while ago about the BC ferry being abandoned and tied up to that island. And I went on that boat. Man, it's windy outside. So that's where this is, all right? The next morning, as soon as we were all out by the campfire, we heard a tree break and come down about 100 meters east of us. I couldn't see anything through the bush, and it was dead calm, no wind. Then we started hearing loud knocks, wood knocks, I guess, and we knocked back and had some sort of knocking interaction for the rest of the morning. And this is all on video. We hiked down the road towards the power line, then through the forest, back towards the camp to where we thought most of the noise we heard the night before was coming from. There's a thick fallen cedar tree in a small clearing with a giant butt print in the covering of pine needles on it. I jumped up on this log and I could see the chair I had been seated in the night before next to my rented SUV. We determined that we had been watched from this spot. I had to pee, so, being an inexperienced idiot, I decided that it would be funny to pee all over this area. I told my buddy Robert that it was to assert my dominance. He told me that it wasn't a smart thing to do, but I shrugged it off and I did my business, and after this we left to pick up groceries for that night. We returned just before sunset, and as soon as I turned onto the access road, I immediately noticed that the atmosphere was different, so much so that I got scared and rolled up my windows. We drove to the clearing where we were camping in and started a fire. And like I said, the atmosphere was different, and the anxiety and fear was building up to the point that my chest was tightening up, and I was covered in goose flesh. As the darkness came, my apprehension and fear increased. The night was overcast, so there was no light whatsoever. You couldn't see the sky or the treetops when you looked up, or your hand in front of your face. It was just all black, except for the little lights that the fire cast on the trees around us. The little light that the fire cast on the trees around us. We sat in the lawn chairs facing the fire with our backs to my SUV. I had a 35mm camera with a power flash in my hands, and I had a powerful little headlamp on, and was scanning down the road to my right, then moved it so that I scanned the trees in front of us 180 degrees, and up the road to my left, then back again. I've been doing this for about 5 minutes. When I was looking up the road to my left and started coming back, when I saw it in the light of the lamp, I forgot all about the camera. All I could think of was that it couldn't be real. Nothing could be that big. It was no more than 20 feet away from me. I saw its left profile, then its back, then its profile again as it stepped behind a tree. It was about 9 feet tall, 3 feet thick from chest to back, and at least 4 feet across his shoulders. I figured it had to weigh between 800 and 1,000 pounds, and it was all black and looked like a ginormous bodybuilder. It was that muscular. I realized then that there would be nothing we could do if it decided to kill us. It could have effortlessly flipped my SUV with one arm and ripped us apart just like you would pull a drumstick off of a roasted chicken. We left shortly after that, leaving the fire burning. I was terrified and on the verge of tears as we drove out of there. I had flashbacks for 2 weeks after that. Every time I would turn my head to the left, everything around me would disappear, and I would be back sitting in that lawn chair looking at that impossible being, silently walking behind that tree. There's more to the story, but it would be way too long. And I agree that people need to be informed by the authorities about these beings. I believe they're being kept secret by those in power for a reason that we don't know. I know you're not afraid of anyone, but be careful just the same. Up until now, they've been able to make the Sasquatch researchers look like fools. So you're treading a new and possibly dangerous road. Thank you for what you're doing, Ricardo. P.S. I got your back, too. There's more. Very interesting, right? Now I've got some more on here. Number two, I was kicked out of the BFRO for talking back to Matt Moneytaker on the BF blah blah O members forum. The guy's an egotistical, money-hungry piece of shit. He effed my buddy Robert around pretty good, and it was Robert who was having all the experiences with these beings. I got to the point where I didn't want anything to do with Sasquatch organizations, so many people talk out of their asses because they call themselves experts. I just got sick of listening to all the bullshit. I watched the occasional video on YouTube about Sasquatch, and you're right. They all keep doing the exact same thing over and over again. Although, for whatever reason, the whooping calls worked for Robert. Every time he did that, we would get a really loud knock. And like I said, I've got all that interaction on video. And I'm with you. I know they exist. It's not a matter of anyone believing me anymore. And like you, I could give two Fs if they do or not. I gave up giving a shit when I stopped participating in the Sasquatch groups. There's more to what I saw that night than I told you in my email, but I don't like talking about it because I can't wrap my brain around it myself. It was shit that I can't explain except maybe by quantum theory. But for most people, that's too far out too. And I'll tell you if you want to know, and you can make up your own mind, but if you don't, it's okay too. It's kind of effed up, and I wouldn't have believed it myself hadn't I seen it with my own two eyes. I went back to Seashell the following June in 2007. The stuff I experienced then was pretty weird too. I haven't been back since because we moved to Newfoundland from Fort McMurray that year. I don't know if they're here on the island or not. I haven't seen any sign. It's prevalent around Fort McMurray, though. It's easy to spot. Even the highways in northern Alberta. I haven't seen anything like it here yet, though. Anyway, thanks for responding and for the words of wisdom. Appreciate it. Okay, now what's this one? There's another edition. Well, like I said, we didn't stick around much longer after I saw him. That night I didn't give a shit. I just needed to get the F out of there. I saw it step behind a tree. The following year we went back to Roberts Creek. I realized that the tree it stepped behind wasn't a big tree, but actually 3 trees lined up in a row about 5 feet apart from each other. That in the dark, with that headlamp, made it look like one bigger tree. But here's the effed up part. The tree it actually stepped behind was only 8 inches in diameter. But it didn't strike me how effing impossible that was until years later. I was looking at its left profile when it stepped behind the tree. It was at least 3 foot thick from chest to back. If it hid behind the tree, I should have seen its chest on the left side of it and its back on the right, but it was gone. How the F can that be? I know what I saw. I was wide awake with a powerful headlamp pointed right at it. Magic? I don't think so. Real magic is only science that hasn't been explained. Quantum physics allows for an object to be in 2 places at once and to disappear from one place to another instantly. Somehow they know how to do that. That's what I think I witnessed. You can believe it or not, I don't care. No one will ever be able to convince me different. The only thing I can think of is that these beings are much more advanced than we can possibly imagine. And that's why they're kept a secret. I've only told people about this who have had similar experiences, and I can count them on one hand, and I haven't spoken to them in years. Good luck with your hunt. Stay safe. Cheers. And there we go, I think. Yeah, that should do for now from this guy. This is a good guy. We email back and forth quite a bit. Hold on, what's this? One more last part. I read a story that a friend sent to me, told to her by a man who had stepped through a portal on a trail. He stepped from bright daylight into a nightmarish other world. He immediately stepped backwards just as he heard a voice in his head say, "Gotcha." And a large dark gray, almost black, frying pan-sized hand with claw-like nails, and black hair covered forearm appeared from over his right shoulder and reached for his face and closed on nothing and disappeared as he was already stepping backwards into the bright daylight again. He turned and ran back down the trail, looking back over his shoulder, and there was a shimmer, like when you see a mirage of water on the road up ahead on a hot day in the summer, except that it was roughly in the shape of an oval in the middle of the trail. He hadn't noticed it when he walked through it initially. I know that the shit is real. There you go. So, shape of an oval in the middle of the trail. All right. And I believe that was back then as too, when I kept on pushing to everybody. If you're in the forest, in a park, going down the trail, whatever, and all of a sudden you get all the signs, right? When the atmosphere changes, it feels electrically charged, static electricity, hair in your neck and arm stands up, overwhelming sensation of fear and dread. I firmly believe that you should stop dead in your tracks and turn around and go step for step back to the direction that you came from. Step for step to be safe. Not to the side of the trail. No shortcuts. Straight exactly back the way you came in. So there you go. So where does that oval shimmering thing, space, open doorway, whatever you want to call it, what's going on there? What's on the other side of that? How did it get there? Where are we? You know what I mean? No, well, they've got dermal ridges and they got a mid-tarsal break and okay, I'll shut up. Y'all shut up. And this information has been available for a long time from people seeing the shit go down. Right? How many of those so-called names have known all this stuff the whole time and made sure that you didn't? Why is that? Get them all, put them all in chairs with electrical current strapped to them and crank it up every time they tell you a lie until they finally tell you the right answer, right? All right, going a little dark there. A Bigfoot Experience is the next email title. Hi, Steve. Love what you're doing. And I sort of just stumbled on your YouTube channel while bouncing around on YouTube watching hunting vids. Never expected you to be or become a source for so many, obviously, genuine Sasquatch encounters. Good stuff, amigo. Good stuff. I'm a veteran and still currently active contract firefighter in a remote Alaska location. Not on the mainland, but rather way out at the very end of the Aleutian chain. What a crazy place to end up. We're talking, that is the middle of freaking nowhere. What a crazy place to end up. I wouldn't mind seeing that, actually. I grew up hunting with my dad. I've been a student of the outdoors all my life. Less in the last 20 years, but I suppose that's what happens when people depend on you for their well-being. You go, just thank the stars above for good health and the ability to still do a job and earn a living. And in my case, leave some formerly enjoyable pastimes behind until I can enjoy them again someday. I know the signs and sounds of all the animals in the woods here in Texas, and pretty much North America at large. Anywho, I've always been observant from as a 4-year-old kid till now, I'm 61, throughout my life. I've always loved learning, delving into new things, learning about them, taking the time to know my shit. So when I say something is so, it's not bullshit. Learning keeps me young. So does staying active in a very demanding career field. And the minute I perceive myself as a danger to others, I will walk away. And that time isn't upon me yet. I was 11 years old in 1969. My dad, career USAF bomber pilot, was stationed at a base in Northern California. And I still remember the day that I picked up a Reader's Digest at my best friend's house and saw the expose on the famed Patterson-Gimlin film. I was hooked at that instant. I couldn't stop thinking about this fantastic and terrifying creature I was seeing on those pages. And suffice to say, the woods and dark places in between houses in my neighborhood took on a whole new meaning when walking home at night. But the mind of an 11-year-old can be a pretty fertile place. Excuse me, right? Fast forward a year later, we had moved to a base near Riverside in Southern California. I was a Boy Scout and immediately met new buddies in my neighborhood who were also Boy Scouts and joined their troop. And that same year, the Boy Scout summer camp, 2 weeks, was up in the San Gabriel Mountains. That's way up above LA in the Angeles National Forest. The area is very mountainous with lots of big conifer forest. One of the much anticipated activities was a long, for a kid, 9-mile hike with full gear on mountain trails to get to a remote campsite at a place, if my memory serves me right, was called Firebird Lake. We were to arrive near dark, set up camp, cook chow, do Boy Scout stuff, sleep a couple nights, and then pack it all back to the main camp, so the next batch of scouts could follow suit. And as we hiked through the mountains, we traversed through a campground. I think it was called Pepperdine Camp, where there seemed to be a bunch of excitement based on a gathering of people. As we approached the gathered crowd, all the excitement seemed to be focused around a campground water spigot, obviously a source of water for campers, for drinking water and cleaning dishes. The spigot was trickling, and a rather large 5-by-5-foot patch of ground was wet around the spigot. But what got the attention of every single scout in my troop was the presence of an abundance of frickin' huge 16-inch footprints. Just massive and wide all around this water station. I'm not hesitant at all to call a spade a spade. These were Bigfoot footprints, and I knew it instinctively the instant I saw them. Not a bear. Wrong shape by far. Not a cougar. Wrong shape by far. They're made by a Bigfoot. Period. After a few minutes, the troop master could read the landscape of our faces pretty well and got us gathered up to continue. We got to Firebird Lake right on time, but our minds were so absolutely blown by what we'd seen. Maybe not so much the troop master, but all of us kids. Well, our shit was in the wind after just seeing those effing footprints. We literally, as a group, could not stop thinking about what made those prints. The troop master, reading the anxiety of on our collective face, made the announcement that we've got some very nervous kids here and everyone is way on edge. I think we'll just hike back to main camp tonight. Tonight? Oh boy. Bad move, dude. Bigfoot or no Bigfoot, I don't give a flying shit what. You don't do that. Anyway, sorry. We had dinner, and off we went. 9 miles right back through the mountains at night to get back to base camp. We were so relieved at that announcement, we didn't give two shits about repeating the hike we just finished. We all wanted to get the hell out of Dodge. I've dedicated a few decades to researching these beings, or damn things as you say, and continue to do so to this day. I'm talking actual research online, in books, and from select posts on YouTube, where I feel the encounters and those conveying the encounters are genuine. I want nothing to do with the F-tards like Bobo in search of bullshit. Give me a break. There are, however, many riveting stories of encounters to be found. If you're selective, I know BS when I hear it, and sincerity when I hear it. And as for the origins of these creatures, no idea. But I've done research into that as well, and I don't think they are a product of the normal evolutionary process. But that's all I'm going to say about that. And they're everywhere, from Alaska to the tip of Florida, with personalities that seem to change with the geography they're found in. Needless to say, being in the woods has taken on a new flavor, especially with the abundance of whitetails and feral hogs here in northeast Texas. And yes, many hunters down here have crossed paths with these beings, or observed them through night scopes while thinning out the hog population. Thanks again for your support of the great outdoors and this subject specifically. I'm turned on and tuned in, brother. Safe travels. Rob Birch. Rob, I think this may have been a old original email too, but not read. But I read it today, and I hope you are still hanging out here, and I would really be interested in hearing what your update on your ride is. And your ride meaning your life. What's going on? What have you learned? Anything new? And if you got anything that you think I might want to know, or somebody here might want to know, please send it. Please send it. I wonder how many of the scouts are here listening to this channel today. I wonder. Now, who's next? All right, here's a short one titled Hi. As in, hello. Hi back. Sent it twice. Okay, so when I was about 15 years old, me and my sisters and brother were playing in the woods in Eugene, Oregon. We were playing hide and seek. Me and my sister was hiding in a big hole in the ground, and I was looking out to see if I could see my brother, and there was this smell. Then I saw something a few feet away from us, and it was bent over. It looked like it was picking something up. My foot slipped, and I broke a stick, and it stood up and looked right at us. And I froze. I was so scared. I wanted to run, but I could not move, and then it started to run at us, and we took off. I left my sister. We ran so fast out of the woods, did not look back. Never went back in the woods again. I love my family. I think I remember hearing that one. That's it. So I hope the sister made it out okay. I think if she didn't, you probably would have mentioned it though, right? There's people out there in the pool outside here if you can hear voices, all right? Tolerable, I think. All right, here's another one. Where'd this come from? I find them in the damnedest place. Sometimes I get people send me files, and then I'll have to download it, and then I can't open it. It says can't open it when I download it, and then I hit download, and then I have to dig it up in my files on my phone, and then they'll show up in there, and then I have to copy and paste them and put in my notes, and I can read them. And so, here we go. I just went in there for a second. I don't know why. This is titled, oh, I do know why. Somebody said they sent me a video of an orb, and I hit the download, and I went in there. It's not in there. But I found this. Now listen to this. What's it about? I don't know. My name is Daryl. I live in central North Carolina. However, I was raised in Pennsylvania. I'm now 50 years old, and I've always, for some strange reason, been a magnet for supernatural activities. I've had multiple UFO sightings. The most memorable one was documented with MUFON. Multiple Sasquatch experiences, and I've seen a few other things that I still can't explain. I've always been an avid outdoorsman, enjoying hunting and hiking and camping and practicing my survival skills. I don't keep my experiences a secret, but folks who will listen just put up with me and think that I'm that crazy guy that spends too much time in the woods. My first experience with these beings was at 13 years old. I was bow hunting with my father in a very secluded area in central Pennsylvania. We called this area the Land of the Lost, because the landscape looked as if a dinosaur should appear at any time. We were after a large 12-point buck that had been seen there. The day had come and gone with only a few irritating squirrels keeping me company. And as darkness settled in, I could hear Dad's footsteps coming towards me as I descended the tree in my climbing stand. And on the ground, our conversation of the day's hunt was interrupted by a disturbance in the brush about 30 yards away. We both took a knee. As Dad said, I bet it's that 12-point buck coming through. And I remember responding that it must have rolled in something dead as we were downwind, and the air definitely had filled with a nasty smell. He then handed me his extra flashlight and said, when it gets closer, let's hit it with a flashlight so we can see what it is. It was only 10 feet away when we hit the lights, and what we saw was no deer. It was a human-like figure, approximately 8 to 9 feet tall, covered with matted brownish hair. The flashlight spooked it, and I could clearly see its hand and arm swing as it spun around on its heel and took off running into the darkness. We could hear it crashing through the woods, and I remember its footsteps in the dry leaves sounded just like a person running through the woods, but with some incredibly long strides. I did not see his face, but I believe my dad did, because when I asked what the hell was that, he did not comment, and looked as though he had just seen a ghost. The ride home that night was quiet, as he did not say a word, obviously trying to comprehend what it was he just saw. And as for me, it just fueled my curiosity. And to date, that was the only time I ever saw one. And I don't make it a point to go looking for them. However, I can feel when they're around me while hiking and camping. Recently, I've been spending time in the Uwharrie forest here in North Carolina. Been knocking on the trees, the musky scent, and on 3 separate occasions, they threw small stones at me while in camp. The most recent being a camping trip in the summer of 2019. I never once felt threatened by them. My feeling is more of one of playfulness, or perhaps they want to communicate with me, so I talk to them when they're near. They never stay long, maybe 20 minutes at most, and then they disappear. My last 2 encounters were accompanied by a yellowish glowing light in the distance. That's the first I had ever seen of this, so I'd be curious to know if anyone else has noticed a yellowish glow when these beings are around. My belief is that they can teleport, perhaps through natural portals as a way of traveling. I also think that once a person runs into one, somehow their energies unite and they always know where you are after that. It may explain multiple experiences in different locations, and I know that sounds woo-woo, but then it's just a theory. I could tell stories for the next hour or so, but I'll end it here. Thanks for taking the time to listen. I got hours. I got more hours for you, man. Daryl, you want to write back? You write back anytime, all right? And I definitely want to hear what you got to say and what you've experienced, as well as everybody else does here. Okay, man? So, if you're still hanging out, which I'm sure you are, that's pretty recent, I think. get a hold of us. Or you know what? If you want to as well, you could email me back and see if you want to be if you want to have a conversation with me online, and we can talk about it that way once I'm done with our vacation. Either way, thanks for send that in, man. Appreciate it. And how would that be for a frickin' surprise, right? All you hunters out there that use flashlights to get in and out of the woods, picture that nightmare. Now, this one's not too long. I'm going to do this one more, and then I'm going to get out of here. Bigfoot encounter number 1. Hi, my name is David. First, I love your show. I love the stories. It takes me back in time. A little background. I'm from Austin, Texas, and I'm half Native American. I grew up on a 3,500-acre ranch in the hill country. And as a kid, I roamed the woods, creeks, etc. Around 10 and up, day and night, you'd find me out there. My favorite thing to do was to track animals down. Anyway, when I was 14, 1974, first day of deer season, I was out the door that morning, 3:45. I told my dad and relatives what area I intended to hunt, which was at the southeast corner of our property, while they hunted the northwest area. The area I was headed out to was to a tree stand inside brush that overlooked this football-sized meadow and was 50 feet below a hill, roughly 2,200 feet high to the north. South and east, heavy forests, and west, scattered trees and brush. I'd sit still until a couple hours after daylight, then take off looking for fresh tracks and start stalking until I jumped one and nailed it. This night was pitch black. One of those nights is so dark you can't see someone standing 3 feet in front of you. Anyway, I took off on foot in total darkness. I knew every inch of our property. About 2/3 of the way there, out of nowhere, comes this booming wail/scream. I literally froze, paralyzed in fear. All my senses were heightened. Goosebumps ran over each other all over my body. The only thing that moved had been my thumb sliding off the safety. I was listening so hard for sound of whatever was moving that I realized I wasn't breathing but holding my breath. I was real tense. My mind was racing. What the hell was that? I knew all the animals in the area. I'd mimicked coyotes and wolves, knew the sounds a mountain lion made, but this was different. It sounded close, but was a quarter mile away and worse. It was over in the area I was headed to. It seemed like an eternity before I decided to turn around and slip off as quick and quietly as possible. If I'd had a flashlight, I wouldn't have turned it on. No way. Later that morning, my dad and relatives found me at our hunting cabin, and they were surprised to see me there because of how I'd hunt. They kept asking me questions, but I wouldn't say answer. I knew they wouldn't believe me and just tease me. And later on, while chopping wood, my grandpa came out and asked me again, so reluctantly I told him. He left, and a couple minutes later he returned with my dad and said, "Get in the truck." We went to the stand, and my dad said, "You're the tracker. Take a look around." At first, I couldn't find anything. There was 20,000 acres unspoiled forest land east and south of that meadow adjoining our property. I decided to go into those east woods. 100 feet inside the tree line ran a creek. Intended to walk each direction along the bank and see what tracks could be found. And a few minutes later, we found 16.5-inch tracks. Easy 5-foot stride. My dad and grandfather decided to go to town, 45 miles away, to get something to make casts. But a storm blew in before they returned. A year later, my cousin and I went to a movie, the Patterson-Gimlin film, which showed the female Bigfoot. And during the movie, they played a vocal of one taped in Oregon. It was the same as the one I heard that one morning, and I could still feel the fear. But now, at least, I knew what it was. Since then, I wanted to know all I could about them. And yes, I've been made fun of, but like you, I don't give a shit what people think. They're idiots. And even with all the evidence, are in denial. You and I think exactly alike. We both think for ourselves. Anyway, I've had several encounters. Have a close-up pic of one which does look human, like in the... Let me read that again. Anyway, I've had several encounters. I have a close-up pic of one which does look human, like in the face. And now I understand why hunters who could have shot one didn't. I believed them. I found tracks in 90. Heard one at Yellowstone in 2013, and I live in Colorado now, and I've had 5 encounters the last 5 times out. I will explain how when I share with you these will explain how when I share with you these encounters. I think you may be able to answer your question as to why the secrecy. There's, to me, 3 reasons. One, they're listed under the Endangered Species Act. Big fines and imprisonment if you kill one or transport body out of state. If they admit their existence, land has to be set aside for them with access restricted. Affects the commercial industry, logging, gas, oil, agriculture, etc. Big income loss, especially to the greedy AH. Number 2, liability issues. Example, tourism. The public would have to educate of what to and not to do upon an encounter. People are beyond stupid. Oh, look at that cute elk or moose or bear and try to get selfies with them. It doesn't always turn out good. Effing morons. You won't see me kissing a cobra, but seriously. In light of 411 missing and through research, the ultimate predator stands on 2 legs and it's not us. There's evidence we're on the menu, whether a rogue or more. This is what's pulled me back into this research and to the public having a right to know. But let's say a kid disappears and never found. Forest Service gets sued by parents, though they lose. And as you can see, there's a liability issue. Easier for people to disappear and cover it up. Number 3, both 1 and 2, especially 2, bringing about this issue. Bracket, can we cohabitate with them? End bracket. If these things are from time to time feeding on us, and their existence is admitted by government, when people disappear in forests, especially kids, guess who gets the blame? Then public outcry is extermination. The commercial side. It's the crybaby greedy individuals who want them out of the way to exploit the land for profit. Anyway, sorry I went overboard, but it feels good to get things off my chest with someone who knows the truth, and like you, I believe the Bigfoot community is full of 98% idiots. Like a dog chasing his tail going in circles. They're going about it all the wrong way. I'm interested in sharing 3 of 6 encounters I had since January 2019. 1 really scary. 2 a little scary. I got photos. Only a few close friends I've shown to. Real close to proving their existence, but afraid it could cost me. We'll explain next time, but as you stated, you've had that feeling as well. Happy hunting. All right, well, we'll be talking to you again. And we'll see what you think about talking to me and possibly recording it and sharing it with the people. And we'll talk about that photo you got. You know my stance on the photo. I've seen them. I've seen these people. A photo's not going to do me any good, right? But I guess people would be interested. And if it's a close-up, clear photo, you're going to be probably one of the first ever to share that, right? I've got some pretty insane video that I haven't got permission to share publicly yet. But anyway, there you go, you guys. Share it again. Share it again. More voices, more members. Share my story at howtohunt.com. Keep getting the truth out, all right, you guys, no matter what it is. You're the people. We're the people. We're the only ones we need to talk to or hear from. That's it. It's us, right? That's it. It's just us. That's all we've got is each other. That's it. I think that's pretty easy. I think that's pretty easy for everyone to agree on at this stage of the game, don't you think? We only have each other. That is it. I recognized that a long time ago. That's why we're here. Still. And more and more and more people are coming here every single day still. It's crazy. But anyways, I'm looking forward to hearing back again from some of these people that emailed today, right? I hope everybody's out there is safe. And make sure you do what you love to do no matter what. No matter what, all right? It's one thing if you put it on your priority list is to just make sure you do what you love to do, all right? Make sure. And I'll be back later.